we could do this Bari Weiss thing too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. You know, there was a great story in the New Yorker. Let's talk about this, which by Emma Green was put out, I guess, about a week ago, and it was the. What is the name of her university now? University of
Austin.
Of Austin.
UATX for sure.
UATX, I don't know, like if Prager University was in real life.
No, so Trump University.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But
Trump University.
updated for intellectual dark web wannabe, smart people.
Right, it's for like where business people go to escape diversity training, I guess is where it is in some weird way. But before there was that, she basically was instrumental in setting up something called, if you can believe it, FAIR.
What is her fixation on picking names for her organizations that are really close to that of others, including University of Austin? There's a University
UATX,
of
right?
Texas at Austin.
Well, I mean, I think it's because
FAIR is already a media...
Fairness and accuracy in media.
A leftist media critique website.
Well, the idea is that they're trying... the right has always been smart about hiding their...
Yeah.
And it also has to do with a certain amount of shamelessness. You don't do what she does and have some modicum of shame. I mean, this is someone whose whole career is supposedly about anti-cancel culture, whose career was launched by trying to get professors fired at Columbia who were insufficiently pro-Israel. I mean, talk about
It's a shameless propaganda.
cancel culture, but yet her entire career is ostensibly to be the opposite of what she actually did in college.
Yeah, so much so that she was so desperate to get fired from the New York Times that she had to end up resigning because she wanted so badly to be the victim of the cancellation that she'd built a storyline around.
FAIR stands for the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. The intolerance that they're talking about is for people who are fasci and get criticized. And the racism she's talking about is, of course, anti-white racism. Now, they don't overtly say that, but it was an anti-woke organization. And the really interesting thing about this ultimately was, one, it's a funny story about how it implodes because...
It's like the Milgram prison experiment or something like that.
And funny to see also who she wanted to recruit: Megyn Kelly, Andrew Sullivan, Chris Rufo. Obviously, that makes the most sense. But
gosh, some new talent.
Well,
yeah,
there's
enough.
There's actually, I mean, the organization itself is not, it sort of implodes, and the guy that they sort of recruited who had the $1 million to start it off with. Turned out not to be sufficiently, he was insufficiently partisan political for them ultimately, though they never articulated it, but he said that was the problem. But what is really interesting is two things, to me anyways. You guys have maybe, I don't know, a different opinion of the piece, but one, you really see how their networks of money operate on something that never even took off. And because Bari Weiss goes around, the fundraising, it seems like within 45 minutes, this organization had millions of dollars to operate. And the way that they spread it around, she's recruiting all these, Megyn Kelly and Andrew Sullivan, and she's doing $10,000 webinars for the thing. It is their entrepreneurship is, mediocre, but it's the constant sort of through line of all of this. And then the ability that they have such access to money that is so ideologically driven.
We're bearing the lead in that way.
But go ahead. one of her big funders, apparently, that she was very worried was going to ruin her personal relationship with them because the organization wasn't sufficiently anti-woke enough.
I'll read here, but it was Weiss more than anyone else who was clearly the group's big draw. She brought in a $500,000 donation from Harlan Crow, a Texas real estate developer who ProPublica recently reported paid for years of undisclosed vacations and private jet travel for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas.
And at other points, it talks about how she was worried that this group was not sufficiently anti-woke enough in its propaganda and supportive of the conservative agenda, that it was going to harm her relationship with Harlan Crow, and that being whatever spigot she was getting money from.
Yeah.
And it really is fascinating how this all works there. And we should also say, now, I don't know where Emma Green, she obviously has some deep sources in this, but
it's a thorough piece.
If you listen to this program on a regular basis, the idea that Bari Weiss is getting a lot of funding from Harlan Crow would not come as a surprise to you, because do we have the moment where you mentioned that? Do we have that audio or no?
I can show. I don't have to.
Okay, because when we were mocking Bari Weiss at one point, I can't remember on what, on the forbidden. Oh, this is what it was. We were mocking.
It was about that McKinsey guy who was like, you can't. At McKinsey, I wasn't able to speak my mind, but here at the forbidden courses, I'm able to say why is only one group allowed to say the N-word?
Dude, go to the top of the page and cut over there, because people need to see this, because a lot of times people think when you were talking about that forbidden courses summer, that was hilarious. And I'm like, that wasn't a joke. That's actually what they call them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when you go to,
if you scroll down to the bottom here.
Now, why, I want to go back up while we're here. Why forbidden courses? Can you hit that one? The one above.
Yeah, sure.
The one above. Yeah. At UTA, we recognize truth-seeking requires courage, rational judgment, and intellectual humility. Hold on for a second.
So I would be inviting Charles Murray.
Changing our minds is not a sign of weakness, but of strength and maturity. We named our summer program Forbidden Courses because higher education has made it difficult to inquire openly into vexing questions with honesty and without fear of shame. Now, they don't put any of those vexing questions in there, but we can imagine. What's up with black people? And do we should we really allow gay people to be around?
what's wrong with bear spraying homeless people?
And can you really prove that Palestinians are humans?
Right.
The end is not to prove that we are right. Rather, our program brings diverse minds together so that we can clarify what we do and do not know.
This is such farts, sniffing your own farts.
Oh my God. This passionate pursuit of truth, however elusive it may be, is at the heart of all our programs. Okay.
And the fundamental truth is that there are racial hierarchies.
There you go. Well, we don't know for sure, but it's important to ask the question.
It's important not to conclude there aren't.
Right.
Exactly.
That's normally forbidden.
We don't know that there aren't racial hierarchies when it comes to. Okay. So scroll down and.
Here's where it is.
Oh, and
Matt.
but here it is.
So the details and requirements. Check out the location and dates for the forbidden courses.
Old Parkland campus in Dallas, Texas.
Not in Austin.
Click on through there. It's
What's
beautiful.
the Old Parkland? Wow, that looks nice. It almost looks like a Disney place.
Wait, hold on. There's something at the bottom. There's something at the bottom.
Ooh, it says 2023, so that's freshly updated. Crow Holdings.
Crow Holdings. Interesting.
So we're back there. And this
Harlan
is just
Crow, of course, owns that, whatever that place is.
Wow.
What is that place?
I mean, it looks like the House of Burgesses, but I don't know if that's in Austin.
And then you got to go back to the original conceit, which is why Austin? Why Texas? Probably because she could get a sweetheart deal from Sugar Daddy Harlan Crow because he owns so much property down there.
It is a business campus.
Yeah.
That Harlan Crow has set up there. And so,
And the fundamental truth is that there are racial hierarchies.
What is it? 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 What is
And it's fascinating. We were, kind of talking about this a bit a bit before the show, but we're just learning more and more about Harlan Crow. I mean, he'd always been bubbling under the surface, I think, in terms of his influence on the Republican Party. But how many more of these guys are out there? Billionaire benefactors for right-wing causes and even Supreme Court justices who have public-facing contributions and things like Club for Growth, but the real work they do is behind the scenes. And the fact that this connection was made by Emma Green in the New Yorker on the heels of this Clarence Thomas news, it just means there's so much more there to actually explore. And there's more Harlan Crows than we know about.
God knows what lies between Bari Weiss and Clarence Thomas.
Interesting to note that, Barry did not comment on any of the Harlan Crow stuff one way or the other, or Clarence Thomas. Just interesting to note, when what sort of ideas and sort of topics you're willing to tackle and which ones are forbidden.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess that one was forbidden. That one was forbidden.